Oh, hi, my name's Nick Todd, and I have a 1973 3-litre CSL BMW. Well, my father was quite interested in cars. My mother was a particularly good driver as well. So the first classics we bought, my mother had a 2600 Sprint Alfa Romeo, and about the same time I bought an Austin Healey 104. Which I've still got, so I've had that for 44 years now. Alongside this in the garage at the moment there's a 37 Bentley and a little 1935 MG. Car, as I said, is a 1973. It's a city pack car. There were 500 built for homologation so that BMW could race the cars in the Touring Car Championship, which they were very successful at, and actually the car really put BMW back on the map. My father bought it when he was 2 years old, although it's been restored twice. Because it was virtually new when we bought it, we know that nearly everything on it is correct, original, and the right colour. The car's not perfect, but I do use it, so we do have to be careful because the steel and the aluminium are so thin that if we park it somewhere and somebody leans on it, it'll dent it. So it does become a bit of a problem with this car. I enjoy the static shows, but we tend to go as a group and take a picnic and make a day of it. The only thing we've really still got to do with the car is deal with the wooden dash rail on the top of the dashboard. They all crack and the varnish comes off, and it's actually quite a complicated job to redo, so I've sort of left it but we'll get there in the end. The interior, we've rebuilt the front seats. I managed to get the original fabric back from the upholsterer, washed it and cleaned it, so it is still the original fabric because you can't get an exact match. The rear seats are still original. Some of these cars had a grey carpet in, but as far as I remember, this has always had black carpet. Those have just been renewed, but of course they came with no sound deadening. They did all sorts of things to make the car lighter, which included, when they were imported, they had perspex windows. They also had a fin for the back tail and fins for the front wings. The dealers couldn't really sell them. They were far more expensive than the Aston Martin at the time, not as well known. So as a result, they threw the racing pack away, put electric glass windows in, which added to the weight again, but they're still quite formidable. They do accelerate very quickly and they're great fun to drive. We've not really had to restore the engine because it's only done 50,000 miles. The injection was difficult to repair. Other problems that we've had with this is because a lot of the aluminium is directly touching steel, there becomes a lot of electrolysis. So even if the car is dry, it will still try and turn itself to dust. But we seem to be managing. We've managed to insulate. Last time it was done, some of that was insulated, so hopefully it won't be so much of a problem. As we were saying earlier, some of the cars like this are really in not very good condition, and they are quite expensive to restore. That all the chrome are the original pieces. The front and back bumpers have been re-chromed, and the wheel arches are stainless steel, so they don't rust. We did have two of these at one point, and when I sold the other one, we should really have switched the wheels over because the ones that went with the yellow car were brand new, and I think they were probably one of the last sets we managed to purchase. But I didn't bother changing the motor. I suppose I should have done, but they're not in bad condition. They're fine. The first restoration meant that new wings had to be purchased from BMW, ensuring that they were the right gauge steel. The biggest problem was the bottom of the doors, where panels had to be let in, again because of rust and electrolysis. Getting the green right is really important with this colour, because it only has to be half a shade off and it just doesn't look right. So I was very pleased that we got this colour scheme right. Black stripes down the side are decals that come from BMW. I've seen one of these cars with green stripes, but only one. Nearly all of them have got black. They come already measured, so you can get them at the right height, because you just line it up against the chrome strip, because getting it at the wrong height would also look a bit weird. The glass is all original. With having a black interior though, it's quite difficult to keep clean because you can see every single mark. But again, we don't tend to concourse with it because we use it. Concourse cars, it has won concourse. It's won a couple of concourse awards with the BMW club. I'm not a member of BMW, but I am a member of the historic BMW section in England. In fact, I'm a founder member with that. However, this car is not eligible as their cut-off period is 1964. The only restoration that I need to do now is really the wooden panel on the dashboard. The rest of it seems to be running all right. And obviously you see the odd thing. I've noticed today when I've been cleaning it, there's stones chipped the front just above the bumper. So I'm going to have to take that into the paint because I can see some rust coming through. So I need to catch that quickly. I do know the underside is in good condition. We had a good look at it about 18 months ago, and everything is fine underneath. This particular model of BMW came out as a CSI, a CSA and a CSL. The CSI was the indicated injection. The CSA indicated an automatic box, and the CSL is the lightweight. The lightweight included stripping out anything that wasn't required to make the car legal on the road. Obviously the cars that were raced are now known as the Batmobiles, and they were even lighter. They don't have bumpers, they have air dams on the front, things like that. But the road versions came with no sound deadening, very thin carpets, as I said, perspex windows and things like that. The steel is thinner, the aluminium's thinner. They did all sorts of things, which I'm sure if you're a fanatic you'll know, to make the car lighter in order to get the top speed up. One luxury they did leave in the car is a Motorola and Blaupunkt radio, which at the moment is not working, but that's maybe a little minor job. But the car's quite noisy when you're in it, so there's not much point of having a radio. Touring for weekends, I don't know, I seem to spend more time polishing it than driving it, but we do enjoy going away at weekends. We do occasionally let the dog on the back seats, but he's black, so you can't see the hair. The best experiences we've had with the car have been taking it abroad to the continent or on long weekends and driving in England. Recently this year we went to Cumberland and drove up to do the military roads around the Scottish lowlands, which was quite fantastic. We were with some other friends in some quite special cars too, so we really enjoyed that. Another spectacular trip was taking the car back to Germany, where we toured around for again a long weekend, including managing to get to a speed of 140 miles an hour on the Autobahn, at which point I chickened out, decided we'd better slow down a bit. recently been to Holland in it, where it looked particularly splendid, parked outside the Laumann Museum. The car's been to the NEC Classic Show twice, early on this year, and we took it there about 5 years ago for one of the club stands. Every car that we've got is different, and they all drive differently. I wouldn't say that I had a favourite car at all. It depends whether I want to be in a car that I've got to concentrate a lot or to actually drive it properly, or whether I want to just sit and drive normally. This falls between the two. It's extremely well behaved. You can drive it very comfortably in traffic, but if you want to drive it quickly, it gets to be a lot of fun. Parts for these cars, I believe, are relatively easy. I'm not sure whether there is still any wings left, but I know there are a couple of specialists that restore these cars. BMW are really quite helpful, so I would say that you could get virtually everything for it. One of the crazy things that we couldn't find was the clip for the sun visor broke, and it's a tiny little clip about that big. We couldn't get one anyway, so I think, well, we've found one now, but I was thinking about having one digitally printed because it's a relatively simple thing, but we've got one now, so that's okay. The cars, we've kept it for such time because it reminds me of my father, really. So that's why it's still in the garage.